There you go. You can bam, bam, bam.
Hi, this is the Rogers. This, as you can read from the title, this is my birth story with twins.
As told by Alice Dyer and Matthew Rogers. With a forward by Harvey. Say hello to the camera, people.
I'm writing it all down because I know I forget because they're 6 months old and this is a bit late, so do apologise. So, as you all know, I was pregnant last year during lockdown. I was pregnant with twins. A bit obvious.
There's one.
But yeah.
And then two.
And at 32 plus 2 weeks, I went in for a growth scan because with twins you need to be extra monitored because that is a high risk pregnancy for the premature labour and stuff. And
We're watching The Simpsons.
I could probably guess that. And at 32 plus 2 weeks, I went for my growth scan. Of course, it was in the middle of lockdown, so Matty couldn't come with me.
I got as far as the waiting room.
Yeah.
So many pregnant women, I felt a bit weird.
He could only go to the, which was a bit unfair to be fair, because we've lived together for the past 3 years, and you know it would have been nice for him to have been there with me because pregnancy is quite a lonely time. But anyway, they did all the normal tests. So, but they noticed then that twin 2, Riley, known as now, slowed in growth a little bit. And they weren't too worried about it because
They weren't worried about this one, were they? Weren't worried about Little Hard.
they weren't worried about him too much, but they were a little bit concerned. That was all it was really. And then afterwards, she did all the midwife did all the normal tests, like the urine sample and testing your blood pressure. And and
Try not to look at her.
And then when I gave her my urine sample, she sort of looked at me and said, "Oh, I think might have protein in it." And I was a bit shocked because only the Friday before I'd been to my actual midwife, done a pregnancy test, done a urine sample, and it was all fine. So within like the 5 days, or 3 days or whatever it is, I developed like a mild preeclampsia. They didn't actually confirm it was preeclampsia until a couple of days later.
On your phone call.
So she sent them off because she wasn't sure, but she had a strong feeling it was preeclampsia, like protein in the wing, and so that was all fine. She said the hospital would phone if when the results come back. And that, and then I got sent home, and then come Thursday, this is gonna be a very long video. Come Thursday, I fell asleep because imagine I was like heavily pregnant. My first trimester, I was napping. I got woken up by Matthew saying that the hospital was trying to get in contact with me. So I looked at my phone. I had 2 missed calls, I think it was. And then they phoned me again and I answered it, and they said, "You need to come in now. You've definitely got protein in your wee.
Oh dear.
We think it's mild preeclampsia." There's Matthew rushing around trying to get different things ready because obviously I wasn't sure whether I was going to deliver within the next couple of days or not, or anything like that.
We
So
should have expected it, but we sort of...
yeah, but I had packed, hadn't I?
Yeah,
I packed everything.
It was just when we...
The babies' bags were packed from like 20 weeks.
It was just the fact that when you got told to get to hospital straight away, I booked the taxi for you and then completely neglected the fact that actually you might need a bag.
Yeah, pretty much.
So then about an hour later...
Well, no, it was already packed. It just needed just needed extra things in it.
So then you went because I couldn't come. Thank you, COVID. Then about an hour later, I'm at the hospital to give you stuff.
Give me more stuff. Yeah.
Give you more stuff. You'll see a theme over the next few days. I'm constantly to and froing from home and St Michael's.
Anyway, on the Thursday, I went into the maternity unit. I can't remember what it was called. But it was a maternity unit where they like monitor you before you go up on the ward. And so I was in like a little booth. She put the monitors on me. Of course, I realised it is actually quite hard for them sometimes to find two heartbeats, because sometimes they end up finding yours, or they end up finding the same heartbeat, especially if it's the same gender. It's going to be the same sort of rhythm. So yeah, so she put the monitor on me, found the heartbeats luckily, and then went to do my COVID test. Of course, you need a COVID test before anything happens. So I had my COVID test. She actually made my nose bleed, which wasn't very nice, but we laughed about it anyway, because my nose has never bled ever, and it was just funny. But yeah, anyway, so I was in hospital over the weekend, so from Thursday night till Tuesday, the following Tuesday.
I came...
And Matty came, dropped things off, took things, because obviously there's no way of washing things.
Your gran and your mum and your dad came.
Yeah, hang on, I'm just saying. On the Saturday, my dad and my grandma visited me, because I hadn't seen them for ages. I don't think I'd seen them since I'd announced my pregnancy, actually. Because obviously not obviously, but my granddad died in the June. It was the end of May.
What was April? March?
It was later than that.
Okay.
That's why I said May, June.
Alright.
Why would it have been March?
Oh, that's the other one.
February.
Alright.
Forgot where I'm fucking going now. You?
We're up to the Saturday when you were in the car park with me, Nanny, Dad.
I wasn't going to mention that, but okay. Yeah, so basically my dad and my grandma came to visit me. My granddad had already passed away. I didn't go to the funeral because I was heavily pregnant. It was 3 hours there and 3 hours back, so unfortunately I couldn't go. I decided not to go. And then, sorry, I wrote it all down, what I can remember. So, from the first night, they monitored my blood pressure every 4 hours, I think it was. So even in the night, I was woken up at 2 and 6 o'clock, which were very good. Yeah. I can't remember what happened for the next 5 days I was in hospital, really. They put me on a monitor like 3 times a day, and I'd be on there for about 3 hours, because they never know whether they got the same heartbeat or 2 different heartbeats. So even though you're only supposed to actually be on there for only half an hour, it was exhausting. And then the Tuesday came when I had another growth scan.
I came.
Matty met me in the waiting room, because he wasn't allowed to come in with me.
I came with more stuff because we were doing a switcheroo.
He brought me snacks and stuff.
Yeah.
The issue was that Riley 2 Riley too? Twin too?
Yeah, he's like, I've heard this before.
He's not even on screen, mine. Where am I? Yeah, so Riley had slowed, his growth had slowed, and they were quite concerned about it at this point. But I just wanted to go home because I'd already spent 5 days in hospital. But obviously with their concern, I had to stay in hospital, and they told me I had to stay in hospital until I actually delivered the babies. But at the growth scan, my consultant said to me that I would actually be delivering 24 to 48 hours later. So I then prepared myself for the next morning, really.
So did I, sort of.
After the growth scan, me and Maddie went outside because you are allowed to go outside, meet people outside if you want to.
So when you told me, I was sort of like a bit shocked. You phoned your mum, you phoned your dad.
Yeah, I phoned everyone and told them that it would probably be tomorrow.
Because they say if she doesn't call you by 2, 3, then it's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I stayed around in town, walking around.
Yeah.
Looking like a bit sort of like, okay, this could be happening. And then eventually you text me saying,
just go
home.
Yeah, because I hadn't heard from the.
You hadn't heard it was going to call past 3, something like that. So
yeah.
we got home.
So they were going to call me to confirm whether or not it would be in the next hour, whether it would be that day, or whether it would be the next day, or even the next day after that. So Maddie stayed in town, and because obviously we didn't know whether I was gonna have to deliver there and then, and it would save him from having to travel back from home.
Well, when you text me saying you can go. Thanks for that, kid. When you text me,
we caught it on camera.
When you text me saying go home, I thought I'm gonna get home. I'm gonna sit down. Sit down for about 5 minutes and get a phone call say get your ass back up here.
So I prepared myself to have the babies the next day. Of course, at the beginning of my pregnancy, when I found out it was twins and I'd had my first, I think it was my third or fourth midwife appointment actually, and I said to her, I want a planned C-section, and I told that to my consultant too, because I just felt that it was a safer way of doing it. But I ended up with an emergency C-section anyway.
It was an emergency.
I am sorry if I'm blabbering a bit. I don't mean to. Right. Anyway, later on that evening, after I'd seen Matty and I'd seen my auntie, I had dinner. No, I don't think I even had dinner actually. I think I ended up skipping dinner. Everything went on as normal. I was put on the monitor a bit late because I think they yeah, I think they were busy and realised that I did need to go on the monitor. And of course they promised me then that I'd be on it for half an hour. It was about 9 o'clock by this time. Of course it was about 8:30 because I was preparing myself to have a shower ready for the next morning to have the C-section. So I prepared my things so I could go and take a shower, get myself ready for the next morning, getting excited. Except I ended up being on the monitor from about 8:30 to 11 p.m. The nurse kept checking the graft. Obviously, if you know, I don't know if many people get monitored when they're in. Well, yeah, I suppose you do when you're in labour. It's like 2 round things that they put on your stomach, and there's like a machine, like a portable machine, and it listens to the heartbeats, and it tracks the movement too. With a baby, or babies, in my case. I don't really remember much because it was complete and utter blur. But all of a sudden the nurse came back to check the graph and said to me, I'm going to call a consultant, I'm a bit concerned because at this point Riley's heart was dipping and was dipping a bit too much, I think, because I couldn't really process it properly. That's the one. And then all of a sudden, all these doctors came in one by one, looked at the graph, and said, "We're going to deliver your babies now because we're worried and concerned that his heart is dipping."
Meanwhile, far away, I'm getting ready. I'm literally in bed looking at my phone. I'm just about to go to sleep. I get a message. "Oh, you're awake." I thought, yes. I thought, maybe she just wanted to talk to me, see how it was. So I get the phone call, and I think it just went, "Hello, yeah, get your ass up here. They're delivering them now." I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I did, didn't I?
So I got up. I'm in my pajamas. I did the thing. Ran downstairs. Started going, "Oh, they're coming." Raced back upstairs to get dressed. Made sure I had everything. Phone, mask. Booked an Uber. Of course, the Uber was taking a piss before. I'm gonna fucking miss it. So I was a bit panicky. Sorry. Apologies for the swearing. I thought I'm gonna miss it.
Now.
I'm gonna miss it. Obviously, got on the Uber. I got there. Obviously, the door was locked. I went. My partner's about to give birth. "Yes, we're coming to the part where you were born." And they let me in, so I came down.
Found me in a little room.
Found you in a little room.
Anyway, back to me. Where am I?
I got changed.
Yeah, you had to get changed into your scrubs, didn't you?
Yeah.
I was being prepped, obviously, with tubes and things for them to put painkiller on stuff.
I think he's saying, "Could we just skip this part?"
He did arrive in time, thankfully. They did explain to me why I was being rushed down, but like I said, I went completely numb. And when I reflect back, I can barely remember anything.
Went numb, and that's before they put the numbing drugs in.
Yeah.
That was quite funny, just seeing you prepping them. There's about 6 doctors around you, and I'm there sat in a chair, just like, well, what am I supposed to do?
All I can remember is being in that room, coming down in the lift, and them saying to me, Twin 2's heart rate had slowed. I think that's why they decided, because they were fearful that we'd lose them.
But we didn't we?
It was a weird experience.
Oh, thanks for that.
That's watery. I remember waiting in that little room as they poked me with...
Oh! You picked the worst possible times, kid.
As they poked me with needles. And things to put painkillers into. And then went into the theatre, and they said who they were and what they'll be doing.
And they asked who I was.
We had about 3-4 midwives, a few different doctors, and the NICU team, because obviously they were 33 weeks and 3 days. Well, 2 days at that point.
I have to say they were well prepared.
By the way, by this time it was about 11:30. So by the time I'd been prepped and went into surgery, it was probably about 11:45.
Yes, we're getting to the part where you and your brother make an appearance.
And then they let me down. Oh no, they put the spinal block in and praised me for remaining so still. And then they let me down, and the blue sheet went up. Well, actually, before that, a midwife shaved me. But yeah, you don't need to know that.
I was so impressed with you. I was so tempted. Should I just stand up and do a theatrical feint just to make it awkward? I was holding Matty's hand by this point and squeezing it. I was glad he was there with me and was able to be, because some women aren't as lucky. Weren't as lucky. You were moaning at me for being on my phone while they were prepping you,
I
but it was like, what can I do?
All I can remember is when they announced baby 1 was out, Harvey. And I started crying. I was emotional even though I felt completely numb. I looked at you, didn't I? And I sort of said out loud, I said, "Is he okay?" And they started crying.
I did my usual, so I went, "Human! The human coming across!"
And then...
The long, agonising, 180-second wait.
And then 3 minutes later, Twin 2 came along.
Bye-bye!
But there was no cry.
He had his own way, giggling.
So they ended up clearing his airway. I don't know how they did it, because I wasn't told, but he wasn't breathing when he came out, basically. I looked at Matty. He looked down at me with a worried look on his face, from what I can remember.
My mum being
And
worried.
then we heard a little cry. Well, no, actually, before that, the doctor explained what was happening. I started crying again. Then they managed to clear his airway enough that I heard the tiniest cry. I was so relieved. Matty went over to take some photos of them, and then they placed Harvey on my chest.
I might add, when I took the 2 pictures, it was like, oh, nice and cute. Turned around. Ah, it's the inside of Alice's gut. I didn't want to see that. Thank God
Keep in mind, by this time they were trying to sew me up.
Thank God I was. Thank God
and I
hadn't
felt
ate-
nothing.
Thank God I hadn't ate anything.
They placed Harvey on my chest while they were sorting Riley out, and sadly I couldn't hold Riley straight away.
It was tiny baby.
He was rushed off to NICU as he couldn't breathe on his own, and then they took Harvey from me too because he was struggling a little. Which I don't think he was struggling, was he?
I think they just didn't want to separate them.
I think it was just the fact that they were twins and they were early, so he needed to be in a incubator, I suppose.
You trying to look at your brother?
And we were transferred to the same little room again,
And then there was
and a nurse brought toast.
it was more like bread.
Was it bread?
Well, it was toast, but I wanted it really lightly toasted.
Toast and drink, which were these tiny little like square
Yeah, like the,
apple juices and orange juices, and you tried to down the orange juice,
yeah, not the best.
and then tried and almost spat it out.
It wasn't the best because you were tired, but you had the machine.
God, I was knackered.
You had a machine next to you, like every 30 seconds it went. Vroom,
Yeah.
So you could.
Wasn't that my painkillers?
I might have been. I can't remember. I was. All right, but at the same point, I was like.
Well, yeah, because
Part-
you've been up for like, well, we've both been up for like 24
Yeah,
hours.
we've
haven't
both been
we?
up for a good, solid
By this time, it was like
2, 3.
yeah,
'Cause
half 2, 3. By the time I actually came out of theatre, because I
They were
remember,
gonna put you on the ward.
I remember looking at the clock, making lots of noise. I remember looking at the clock in that little room, and it said 2:45. I think it said.
Yeah, it was,
And they asked you if you wanted to go up
Yeah.
to NICU, didn't you?
Yeah.
Didn't they? And that was about 3ish, I think.
yeah. That's when
And you came back down about 3:30.
about 20 past 3 or something.
Yeah.
I spent a while.
And then you said to me, "Oh, I'm going now."
I said I was going because they were going to put you up on the ward and.
Oh, was that what it was?
Because they said you'd be on the ward by about 3:30 and 8. So. And I was,
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, got it. Well, what?
Well, no, because I was going to go to see the boys beforehand, wasn't
Yeah.
I?
It was summer. I knew that they'd kick me out. At
So
some-
yeah, well, we were aware they were going to kick him out anyway because we'll see. And I don't know. I don't know.
Slight technical glitch. The TV's trying to turn itself off.
Why should I mention it? I don't know what it's like now, but your other half could. I think your other half could only stay 3 hours, like in a delivery suite with you, before you, because they weren't allowed on the ward or anything. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Then he came back, said he was going home to have a sleep, as it had been a long night and morning for both of us. And then I went upstairs to see the boys in my bed because obviously I couldn't move. I had a catheter and different things.
I decided to be silly and walk home because I was on cloud 9.
Yeah.
And then got to ask the parents. So I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna. But it wasn't there. There's some guy asking around for change, and he caught me twice, and I was like, I thought, even asked, could you borrow my phone? I went no, and I was like, I thought I'm getting a taxi now because this weirdo's about.
Yeah.
Plus it was 4 o'clock in the morning. I thought I'm not. By the time I get home, the sun's gonna be rising. So.
Also, on the Wednesday, on the Tuesday, they had said to me that the babies wouldn't be able to stay in Bristol because the shortages of beds. Because there is St Michael's NICU isn't that big. I don't think, like, it's not massive.
Compared to how big Bristol is, it's
yeah,
not the
you'd
biggest.
think it would be quite
Obviously,
big.
they got Southmead to help.
But
them.
they have got a lot of hospitals around.
Yeah.
And we were hoping we would be near, but they actually transferred the babies to Taunton. But I can always, I'll do that, I'll explain that in another video. my NICU story, our NICU story or something. But
That
yeah.
was fun.
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry I babbled a bit.
Babbled.
Have.
They both behaved themselves.
As I said, I
well,
was
haven't you?
completely numb for the whole process. So it was incredible that I could remember so much.
Let's ask. What do you remember of it?
If you want to check out my pregnancy, first your daddy, now you.
Father like son.
If you want to check out my pregnancy photos or any photos of the boys, please do check out my Instagram. It'll be down below. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a bit long, well, a bit longer than normal. But yeah, like this video. Give it a thumbs up. Please no negatives, because I don't see why it would be a negative
If there's any
video.
negative, it's probably about my performance.
Oh, that's true. With all the swearing.
Well, I'm sorry.
But yeah, so goodbye from us, and goodbye.
From the twins. Oh, doom.
Put it forward. No, not too close. And goodbye from these two.
Say bye-bye.
Bye bye. With your belly out.